facing the police every single day.
Welcome back to the Hank's Strange Situation, Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded.
All right, welcome back to another Breaking News with Ammo Land. Of course, we've got my friend John Crump of Ammo Land News joining us here, and today we're going to talk about bogus Florida firearms registries, which we've spoken about before. Excuse me. We're just going to do a follow-up, right, John?
That is correct. We are going to do a follow-up, Hank.
Okay, so just in case there's folks out there that are watching this and they're not aware of the first story, just bring us up to speed on the initial story that folks can find on AmmoLand. I don't know. Let me see if I can pull it up. Check out AmmoLand News if you can, by the way.
Yeah, go down to contributors, then you can click on that, then click on my name, and it'll be on there.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it. Basically, there is a county called Charlotte County, Florida, which was compiling a list of gun owners by using the Finder database. The Finder database is what they use for pawn shops. They take the information and they send it over, and what it's supposed to send over is the serial number of the gun, make and model, so they can run the numbers to make sure it's not stolen.
Okay, yeah, this is just Florida law. I'm sure there's other states that have similar law. If you're selling a gun, to a gun store, there's a particular process they go through, right? And a specific database of information that's held for some period of time to make sure it's not stolen.
Well, what happens is it's supposed to go over to the sheriff's department. They run the serial number. If it doesn't come back stolen, the data's not supposed to be kept. Okay. This is in accordance with a Florida law.
Mm-hmm. And so how long is that information supposed to exist before it goes away?
Only until they run the data.
Okay, so once they run it, if that gun is not stolen and everything's clear, then that info is supposed to disappear.
Yeah, they're not supposed to have any list of gun owners due to a Florida statute. I think it's 790.335. 790.335.
Okay. So because if you do that, you have a de facto registry, which is illegal here in Florida.
You definitely do.
Firearms, yes. Okay, so the initial story we did was that there was a specific sheriff, I think in Charlotte County, that was engaging himself in this activity, somehow getting info and then copying that info out and creating his own database. Is that right?
Yes, but it turns out it's past Charlotte County, and Charlotte County was also sharing the information with other departments.
With other counties. Okay. And so initially when we put up that story, before we get into the follow-up part of this, there were a lot of people that actually reached out to us. We had a lot of information sent our way, thanks to the folks that were doing that. We also invited people, if they felt they were victims of this, to reach out to us. So there's a lot of things that you've been going through because of that. It's going to take us some time. There's a lot of information. There's actually like a really deep story, I think, at the root of this. Are there any little things in there that you want to catch up on that maybe folks might not know or aware of since you put out the initial story?
Yes. It turns out Charlotte County was sharing it with the Northport Police Department as well. Okay. Their list, they're sending it over there. We have leaked emails, basically, that show that they were sending the list over there.
To
and
Northport.
Also Northport. Also Sarasota County.
Okay.
Was also doing it. The Sarasota Sheriff was also compiling the list through the Finder database. And here's the scary part. The Finder database was never supposed to be transmitting the names and addresses of the gun owners.
Okay, so that was some kind of glitch.
It was a glitch. Letter, which is the nonprofit corporation which designed the system, went ahead and fixed the glitch. We have information from an unknown source, an unnamed source, who've not allowed to speak about it, but we were able to confirm through that source that they did fix the information. Now it's only transmitting the make, model, and serial number of the firearm, which is what it's supposed to be doing.
Okay, so the folks that wrote that code, they figured it out. Was that recently that they figured out that there was a backdoor or something like that, or it was kicking out information it shouldn't?
I'm trying to determine exactly when they fixed it, so I don't have an exact answer right now.
Okay, all right. So we're still working on that. Now, when we initially put out that story, the Attorney General, Ashley Moody, right?
Yes.
A lot of the feedback that you got from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, and even from Ashley Moody, I think, was that this registry, or what these guys were doing, was not illegal. Is that true?
Well, Ashley Moody never responded to us.
Okay.
The local prosecutor's office, the local Attorney General for Charlotte County, the Attorney's Office for Charlotte County, came back and said it's not a list. There's nothing wrong with it. But I mean, if you saw it, it definitely was
a list. What compromises a list? I think it was a list. It had names, and other information on there tracking a person to a firearm, right?
And rows and columns too.
Yeah,
on a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So it's like kind of like, what's the definition of is, one of those kinds of things that they were trying to use to say they weren't doing something illegal. Yeah. That was the feedback. So now, what's the follow up? Go ahead.
I call it the Bill Clinton excuse.
Yes, exactly right. So now, what's the follow up on that? What's the developments that are coming out now?
Now, due to the awesome work that Florida Carry has done, and also the public pressure, so everyone out there who contacted Ashley Moody or whoever, the public pressure really has worked.
Okay.
And our state's attorney, Amira Fox, is now investigating the misuse of the system, and it does appear that there was a misuse of the system.
Oh, okay. So they're investigating it. This is like the initial phases or stages of their investigation?
Yes. They have subpoenaed and pulled records that that's all I can say about that. They subpoenaed and pulled specific records.
Okay. And then they're talking specifically to certain counties.
Correct. And Letter, which is the nonprofit corporation which designed the Finder system.
Okay, which wrote the code. Okay,
yeah, it seems like there was a gross misuse of the system.
Yeah, I would say it's gross. So when you were looking at this, just give us, or I know there's certain things you don't want to talk about, but what's the numbers of this list? Like, how deep was this list?
It was fairly deep. Anyone who went to a pawn shop that pawned a gun, when you pawn something, you don't sell it. You give it as collateral until you can pay back your loan, then you get it back. It was every list. I saw thousands and thousands of names on there.
Okay, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. What are we talking?
Probably closer to about 60.
60,000. Okay.
Yeah, and here's another thing. One of the places, Sarasota County, when a reporter requested the list, sent an unredacted list, which is also a big no-no because you have names, addresses, everything of gun owners. So if you want to target someone for robbery of a gun, now you have a list. And anti-gun groups would love to get their hands on that.
Yeah, effectively doxing people. So this reporter sent that to you?
What happened was there's a reporter that requested a list. He was thinking that he was going to get a redacted list.
Okay.
But they sent him an unredacted list.
Unredacted list. So basically, if they sent it to that reporter, anyone else requesting it that they responded to, that got out there, right?
Yeah, and we have seen anti-gun groups try to get list of gun owners in Washington State, and recently in Pennsylvania, an anti-gun group called Gun Sense US tried to get private information of gun owners from the sheriffs up there. And the funny thing about that story is, not to get off on another story, but after I released my story, I put their email address and contact information and the story. They wrote me requesting or demanding that I take off their private information because they didn't want their information out there.
Yeah, but they're putting other people's information out there. I think, look, some people looking at this might think this is just a Florida issue. This is definitely going on around the country right now, right? I'm sure there's other places all around the country, other sheriff's departments, other counties using the same software that had this kind of glitch in there that people were getting access to.
Well, the Finder software is unique to Florida.
It is? Okay.
I've checked other states. I've checked Virginia, and I've checked Pennsylvania, and a few other states up and down the East Coast. I haven't been able to find any, so that's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good thing, because there are people that want to get to create these lists. These lists should not be created. It violates in so many different ways our constitutional rights, you know.
If the software ran correctly, this never would have happened.
Right.
My question is, why isn't it automated? Why doesn't the software go ahead and run the serial number once you enter it in and check for a stolen gun?
Yeah.
I know in Virginia, I used to own a gun store in Virginia, and the gun store, we had a system where we could enter a serial number and it will say if it's a stolen gun or not. So people could come into the gun store if they wanted to do like a transaction, but they don't wanted to go through the whole, transfer system. They could pay a $2 fee to a gun store, or how much the state charged $2, but whatever the gun store wanted to charge them, they can run the serial number to see if it's not stolen. And that was like automatic. It wasn't going through a system. So I'm wondering why Florida doesn't have something like that if other states do have stuff like that.
Yeah, why is the sheriff in the way? Now, at the end of the day, so let's switch back to Florida. Here in Florida, well, I guess anywhere, to be honest with you, if the sheriff is somehow in that system, he has a responsibility to not abuse that, right?
Correct. It's a felony to keep a list of gun owners in Florida.
So let's say there is, for some reason, there's law enforcement in the middle of that system. If there's nothing wrong, if there's no crime committed there, if that gun's not reported stolen, they need to move on. They need to deal with, oh, this one was reported stolen, let's follow up on that. But if it wasn't, they don't need to be keeping a list of individuals who are pawning their guns. So the list that was sent out to that reporter, do you know how big that one was?
I would have to look again.
Okay.
That was several hundred names.
Several hundred names. So what can people whose names are on all these lists that are being compiled, what can they do about this? Or do we have to sit around and wait for like you said the state's attorney's looking into it right now? Not the attorney general, right?
Well, the state's attorney who works under the attorney general, and they won't investigate anything about the attorney general's go ahead. What I would do, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice, of course.
Right.
But I am sure if the state's attorney finds abuse, that there is grounds for some type of class action lawsuit.
Absolutely. So how long do you think this is all going to take to get worked out for them to make this investigation, find out what these sheriffs were doing, get their hands on the lists, maybe destroy these lists or give the folks whose names were on the list some opportunity to maybe be part of a civil lawsuit or something that will make sure this doesn't happen again?
I don't think it's going to be a quick process, probably a couple months.
Okay.
But in this case, I think they should take the time and find out exactly who pulled the list and everything else. So I'm not expecting a quick resolution, and I don't want a quick resolution. I want them to take their time and find out exactly who pulled what.
Okay, and this article, like we talk about stuff a lot of times before it comes out. It's not out yet, right?
No, it comes out Wednesday.
Okay, so you guys will be seeing this particular video Wednesday once this comes out. What's the meat of what's going on here in your story? What's like the big thing that you found out, and what was your process of finding out this information?
The meat in the story was gross negligence on not only the software company but the sheriff's department for exploiting a hole in the system.
Okay.
Like if you found a website that had like unencrypted credit card numbers, you couldn't take those and use it and be like, "Hey, I use those credit card numbers," but they were out there, so
Yeah. So this is clearly a crime, right?
in my opinion, I would say so.
Okay. Okay.
But like again, I'm not the attorney
Right.
investigating it, and I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say for sure.
Right.
But to me, it seems pretty clear cut.
Yeah, I think anyone who took advantage of this and shared this info and or received this info and used it, in my opinion, they committed a crime, and it's like it's a massive misuse of the public trust, in my opinion. And I see it even up there on the level with people who, there's lots of other things in society that we don't want people to consume or look at, right? Not just our private information. There's other things like that we say, hey, we don't want you doing this. And this is one of those things. Anyone that did this, they should definitely not be a sheriff, in my opinion.
I would agree. Sheriff is supposed to like enforce the Constitution. They take an oath to a Constitution. I've been talking to a sheriff out in I think Montana. No, Arkansas. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought
Arkansas.
Montana.
Okay, so that's an article you have on the
Yeah,
that you have,
that
yeah.
just came up today. Chris Brown,
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna throw that up while you're talking. Go ahead.
yeah, and he doesn't believe in like gun registration lists. He believes that they're unconstitutional. He also believes stuff like red flag laws are unconstitutional as well. We need more sheriffs like that. That's willing to take a stand. In fact, he said that he's not going to enforce any red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders because it violates the Constitution.
Yeah, you know what? I started reading that article just before we did this. It looks very interesting, and it's good to know that there's sheriffs out there that are going to stand up for what's right. If a law is created that violates the Constitution of the citizens that you're supposed to protect, then it's your obligation to protect them. I think in the case of these sheriffs who are taking this information illegally, sharing it illegally, and compiling lists and therefore registrations on citizens, that's the same kind of thing, right? They're abusing the people that gave them this trust. So we should do something about those guys as well, because they're just out there. It's almost like vigilante kind of justice, but from the sheriff's department that's supposed to uphold the law, going against the law. And then with that article that you're talking about, this guy, I know there's people out there that are going to say, well, if there's a red flag law, he's supposed to uphold that. Well, not if it's not constitutional.
Yeah, I talked to him and he said that he took an oath to the Constitution. He didn't take an oath to uphold anything they told him to do or take
Right.
orders for anything they told him to do. He
Yeah.
took an oath to uphold the Constitution.
Yeah, that would make them de facto kings or something like that, right?
Correct.
Of that, yeah. And this is the whole reason why this is what people need to realize about law enforcement. They're citizens, but they're citizens that we entrust with our lives, right? And the security of our property and all kinds of things. But these people are citizens. I don't think they're separated. They're not above the law. They're not above the Constitution. They're supposed to serve. I know someone's going to say that, the courts have said they're not supposed to serve us or protect us. But that's what they're supposed to do. If they're not doing that, then we really don't need them.
Yeah, the court says they have no constitutional duty to serve and protect the citizens, but that doesn't mean that they cannot serve and protect the citizens. And sheriffs like Chris Brown thinks that he absolutely should.
Yeah, that's a good read. I invite anyone to go read that. So now let's say there's folks, because I think we got a lot of feedback from this, right? If there's folks out there that would like to do something about this, what do you think is the best way for them to go about that? Who do they need to speak to out there to move this investigation forward?
I think it's going to move forward no matter
Okay.
what.
Okay.
I would say what they need to do is they need to join Florida Carry.
Okay.
I'm the VA state director for Gun Owners of
Mm-hmm.
America, and I'm saying they need to join Florida Carry first.
Right. Yeah.
If you're in Florida, then go ahead and join GOA.
Yeah. We're always trying to tell people to support the organizations locally that are fighting for you on the ground level as well as the national ones, right?
That's what I absolutely believe. Pick a local one and then pick a national one, or pick multiple ones if you can afford it. But if you can't afford it, start with the local one, then go to a national one. Whether it's us at GOA, whether it's Firearms Policy Coalition, Second Amendment Foundation, or even the NRA, you really need to support someone.
Yeah, we need to fight for freedom on all fronts. Maybe what we'll do is we'll get someone from Florida Carry on the podcast. We've got John. He comes on the podcast from time to time. Right now, we're kind of like in a, we're not doing the full week this week because there's been a bunch of different things going on. But once we get this kicked back up, we'll definitely have those guys on. Is there anything else you wanted to add to this story before we wrap up here, John?
No, I'm pretty sure that's what we have so far. I'm going to keep on it and see what else I can find out, and also keep everyone informed about the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to invite people. We've already done this. There's folks out there. If you have a story like this, doesn't have to be just in Florida. John's in Virginia. I'm in Florida. We're fighting for the entire country. From California to New York.
I've probably done stories in all 50 states by now.
Yes, and there are stories coming to us all the time. So if you feel like you're in that position, something unjust like this is happening to you in regards to the Second Amendment, let us know. We are getting a lot of things. I would just caution people, like, if you know that you're kind of wrong.
We will find out.
Yeah, because we have to investigate these. I know there's some people reaching out to us, and if you're wondering why things haven't been done about it, is because we have to investigate it, look into it, and make sure this is legit before we, push further time. But it does take up a lot of John's time to look into all of these things. So help us out, and if you know that you have a good cause here, then let us know. If not, maybe take another route.
When we started doing this, I told Hank up front that about 99% of the stuff that we get is going to be BS. Yeah. And I think he's learning that right now.
Yeah, I am. But listen, we want to do this because we want to help people. Yeah,
exactly.
We want to help people. We're willing to do the work. We're willing to, but it needs to be just causes, right? Because there's folks out there that are looking to kind of like stop us from doing what we're doing right now. And if we get behind the wrong people here or put out the wrong things, it'll just make it worse. And at the same time, there's folks out there that have been done wrong, and they really do need the help. So if you're kind of like burning up our time, you're getting in the way of that. So try not to do that, if possible. How can folks get in touch with you, John?
On Facebook, Real John Crump. Instagram, Real John Crump. If you have a story, contact me over on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way. Twitter, I'm at CrumpySS, and I have a YouTube channel, John Crump 2. And if you like my work, you can always support me on patreon.com/John Crump. That money goes a long way. I have something called the 2A Project at 2aproject.com, where we're going to be giving away a KENNETH to a single mom. And then after that, we're going to be doing an AR for a single dad.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. You need to come on the podcast, and we'll talk about that. I know I was supposed to do that last week. I totally forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out at Red October this week. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we'll get it worked out. I think that's a good cause. If anyone wants to know any further information about that, or you want to help out John with what he's doing, get in touch with us. We'll be here doing this. Definitely check out the podcast. It's on the Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded channel. I want to invite everyone to comment here. Tell us what you think about the story. Make sure you thumbs up, subscribe, and of course ring the bell so you can be notified every time we put up videos like this. We're going to get into a rhythm here once we get a whole bunch of different things worked out, and we'll be doing this more often and covering lots of different stories from coast to coast here, John.
Yeah,
no sleep for you.
Huh? Yeah, you don't get any sleep already. Remember, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well at John Crump 2. You can ring the bell and do everything that Hank says.
Yes,
always forget to tell people to do it, but go ahead and do it.
Please do support John. He's doing great work here. So are the guys at AmmoLand. So support those guys. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add here before we get out?
No, if you're out in Vegas this weekend, hit me up. I'll be out there for
Yeah.
Red October.
Red October. Red October. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you. Peace.
Hey, Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County Copwatch. I am using any video here with under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.